People think that I'm this unemotional or zero affect person. That's not true at all. Of course I feel things. The difference is, so what? I can feel terrible and still do the actions that increase the likelihood of success. It's not trying to negate the fact that you have emotions or that you have bad feelings. It's about continuing on the path one step in front of the other despite that.
So if you're gonna go tell your story, don't go into the actual thing. You can talk about it, you can tell around it, and only share things that aren't activating for you. If it's an activating thing for you, like you don't want to be going into tears on stage on something that's not handled for you. Make sense? Okay. So I don't go into, like, there's nothing I'm doing here on stage that has any emotion whatsoever for me that has to do with that specific thing. Just not. So when I'm making stuff up at the end and I was getting teary at the end, that's just me creating an emotion of like, oh, I love my family. That's it. I can think of my family and I think of my love for my family and I can go into tears. That's it. Not thinking about what happened or that moment with my dad, and not at all. Okay? So I think that's just very important to go tell a story, to not go tell a story that's going to mess you up, you know? And then number two, like, you know, the story is the story is the story. Like, we watch stuff on TV all the time that's crazy, you know? So the purpose of my story is I'm not telling a story to try and stick somebody in on their own stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's not my intention of the story. My intention is to tell you a story, to have fun telling it, to make it enjoyable to watch, to share some truth, and ultimately send a message. That's it. It's about as simple as it is. Okay? So that hopefully handles that. Like telling the story of, like, you know, you go into the pit and somebody might be facing like an experience of loss on that subject or whatever. It's like, oh, this is what happened. And then you go search and, you know, search for the answers. Oh, search for the answers. Oh, search for the answers. Oh, makes sense? I think ultimately, if you're telling a story about like time, or you've run out of time for something, because remember, the different kinds of stories are time story, money story.
Right.
So like, how many people can relate to time or not having enough time here? Yeah, it's a real thing. You know, you tell a money story where you felt like you didn't have enough money at the time, or you didn't want to part with your money.
So you're talking about that versus their situations, because the time and the money can relate to any situation versus a situation. Okay,
for sure.
So that's my question. Okay.
You know?
Thank you.
And then a story, maybe you have a story about purpose, and a story about purpose can relate to people. These are like universal things that are common, you know?
Right.
So you just pick those things that are universal. So, I mean, when you're in person, there's nothing like it. Nothing replaces it. It's just incredible. So it's my favorite thing. And, you know, because if we didn't want to do events, we wouldn't have to. We could just have a separate business model, you know? So I just enjoy being with people. So into storytelling, it's just a lot more fun in person. That's the first. And then second, when you're online, it's just a different structure, right? So when you're doing a sales video, you might have, like we talked yesterday, 30 or 60 seconds.
All right, quick pause. So if you're liking this and you want help applying it to your business, just click the link down below and you can book a free strategy call with one of my consultants. And these exact systems I'm sharing with you today, we've helped thousands apply them to their business. Let's get back to it.
You know, on a webinar, you might have 3 minutes, so you're not really going to go deep into it, and you can't necessarily get the present tense of, like, you know, of putting somebody there in the present. You can with words. Like, if you want to put somebody in the present, you go instead of going, I thought about this. You know, so I'm walking and I'm thinking to myself. That's present tense. Make sense? It's different than I thought about, or I recall, or I remember. So yeah, so I'm walking there and I'm thinking to myself, and then you're in the present moment. So you can do that even when you're online and get people into the present moment with words, versus, you know, even if you only have 3 minutes, you can use present tense words that can put people there faster. That's one. Two, you can paint the scene for people even online if you have 3 minutes. You know, I walk into Chipotle and there's this, you know, little table in the corner, and Patrick's there and he's got this green shirt on and this wristband, and he asked me, right? So I'm painting the scene. So you have some kind of idea of who Patrick is. So you can do that. You can do it with words. You can do it with imagery by painting the scene for them, and you can put them there even if you only have a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, you can use those types of techniques to get people there. Make sense? So there's that. And then the other thing is, like, if you tell a story, my Patrick told me this. He always said, you know, even if you've done it 100 times, take delight in telling your story. So it's like the first time. So it's just little things you can do. It's like, oh, I've told this 1,000,000 times. You know, if you're online, sometimes it never feels like that here for me. But when you're online and you're doing the story and it's like the 2-minute bit or whatever, and you're like, man, I've done this 1,000,000 times. And even though it's a new audience, you got to kind of take delight in a new moment of time of, this is my story. So you can do those different things. So it's just a different structure, and it's a different audience, and it's a different feeling. And remember, like, you're coming here, you know you're coming to a show. If a sales video pops up, you know, 5 minutes ago they were handling the kids. Now they're watching a sales video. They're kind of not fully there. So, you know, sales videos, presentations like that, where they're more instant, like a sales video is instant and ads instant, you know, but a webinar is different because somebody signs up and they're coming. So you have more time because they're there for the event. The sales video isn't quite an event, and ads not an event. They're not events. If you're doing a seminar, let's say you're doing a seminar for 3 to 4 days online, people are there to learn. They're there for an event, even for a day. So you could take time and tell a 10-minute story because it's an event and people are there for it. So you just got to know your audience, know the setting, know whether you're in person or online.
So, how do you help someone who still have that invalidation conflict and overcome it on a regular basis and do great things like you're doing to us and to the world?
It's one, you have to know your truth, you know? That's the first. 2, you have to know that we're on a planet that happens a lot. You know, 3, if you understand how the mind works, the mind's looking for things that are wrong. So that means the mind's looking to make other people wrong. It's different parts of the mind, right? But the reactive part of the mind is looking to make people wrong. So you just have to be prepared that stuff is going to come, and you just have to be alert. And that's it. And if you're alert and you can spot it, then you're not effective at it. But it's when you kind of walk away from something and you feel like that interaction didn't feel good, you know, and somebody said something that was underhanded, like there was something there and there was an underhanded slip, and I know it right off the gate instantly. I spot it in a second, 1 second. So I just go, I got it, understood, you know, and then, you know, sometimes the person snaps back into present time and they realize what they did. Sometimes they don't. But otherwise you have to be able to spot it. And so if you can spot it, great, you know? And you know, sometimes people go through life and you slip and you do something. We've all done it where we said something and we weren't meaning to be offensive, and we were to somebody and we invalidated them, and that wasn't our intention, but it just invalidated them, you know? So it's like, how could I take responsibility if I said something where I invalidated somebody? That's the way I look at it, you know? And if my intention wasn't there to do it and they just got invalidated, you know, that wasn't my intention. You know, and in receiving it on the same way as somebody, it wasn't their intention at all. Understood, got it. You know, but it's just knowing, it's picking up on that communication and just knowing. You know, we have amazing people in this room, right? So very, very high tone group of people. Like, everybody's happy and they want to help people. This is a different breed of people. You get out there in the world and you have people at different levels, you know, and you can spot them by looking at them and see where they're at. And then you can know what you're going to get. You can know what you're going to get, you know? And then if you have, you know, I'm not saying the here and there thing that somebody says. We've all done it in a relationship before. It's just slipped out. We said something. I'm talking about the constant thing that you're getting and you're seeing it daily and you're like, dude, this is not good. You know, and if you spot it and you know, like, my attention's on this thing and it's happening constantly, yeah. Trust your knowing. It's happening. That's it. Trust your knowing, you know? So just through good communication, you can handle that stuff. It's pretty easy. You know, if you can handle somebody and confront them about it and be there with them and acknowledge them, then that stuff just shatters in your presence, you know? So that's the short answer. Okay.
So if you're serious about scaling your business online and you want help with my one-to-many selling method to sell on podcasts or webinars or virtual stages or in person, then click the link down below and book a free strategy call. My coaches will help you implement it. We've worked with over 30,000 businesses on these very same strategies. Click it down below and go book. See you soon.